Hey there, Centrons. Today we're going to be talking about synthesizers. How many is too many? Hi, I'm Pure Ambient Drone, and this is my channel where I vlog about synthesizers. So if you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button, tap the bell, so that you can keep up with all of my synth adventures. Well, today I want to start out with a little bit of news. If you head on over to synthcube.com, you will be finding out about their new clone, the ARP 2600. Now you can purchase it from them in a do-it-yourself kit, or you can also order it completely assembled for yourself, but it's going to cost. Anyhow, that's at synthcube.com. No, I'm not being endorsed to say that. I just thought it was an interesting bit of news that a ARP 2600 clone is already ready to order. So yeah, grab a hold of it and see what you think about the website and the pricing, and head back here and let me know. So let's get on with what we're talking about today. Synthesizers. How many is too many, and when is enough? You know, that can be a difficult question. It could be an easy question. It could be a crazy question. When I was growing up, I had one guitar, and I always wanted a really good guitar. But, you know, being under the age of like, say, 14, 15 years old, I didn't have an income to speak of other than mowing the yard. And a pro guitar was way out of reach, so I settled for, the generic guitars that were out there. But when I got that one guitar, I would always try to trade up to another one, and I never really thought about having two guitars unless one was acoustic and one was electric. And to me, that was enough, right? When I got into synthesizers, it was a game changer. Um, no longer did I think that one synthesizer was enough. And I know a lot of synth drones out there don't feel like one synthesizer is always enough. They always want more. Now, in my case, I started in hardware quite a while ago, about 20 years ago or more. And I moved into software after, no other way to describe it, a hideous divorce. I lost everything. And so I went back into a synthesis with software, and I always felt like there was something missing. I don't want to get into a big debate of hardware versus software. I try to stay away from that as much as possible. But there was always something for me missing in the software synthesizer, sound wise and then usage wise. It wasn't until I got into hardware synthesis again that I realized what I was missing, and I really can't put my finger on it. It just makes me feel better to do it. But with that being said, I just can't stay away from just one. Now, part of it is addiction, and there are worse things to be addicted to. Okay, synthesizers are a addicting hobby for some people, an addicting profession for others, and an addicting combination of the two for many of us. I think that when you have multiple synthesizers that sound nearly identical or close enough to one another, you are at a point where you're getting too many synthesizers and you should downsize. Now, I'm speaking in terms of my own thought process. There was times when I started getting deep into digital synthesizers, and I was finding that a lot of them were overlapping one another in sound and palette. I call it the sound palette. And I wasn't reaching for these digital synthesizers as often. I'd pick a favorite and I would stick with that. Uh, Today, my primary digital synthesizer is the Access Virus TI2. Out of all the synthesizers I have tried, and I have tried a lot of them, not necessarily owned them, I would have to say that for the full digital spectrum sound that I'm looking for, the TI2 is amazing. And when I got that, I realized I had too many synthesizers in that department. And I was planning on keeping the Virus C, Actually, I did a video on the Access Virus C where I'm debating on camera whether or not I should keep it. It's a beautiful sounding machine. Um, but I let it go because I couldn't see the point after actually owning the TI2. It's just an amazing machine. So to me, it was too many. Drum machines, falls under the synthesis deal. And I had quite a few drum machines. And I settled on the Roland TR8S for sampling. I love this machine because I'm able to take samples, and I mentioned this in a prior video here recently. I'm able to take samples. My latest sample adventure was RX11 by Yamaha. I took the samples that I actually got for free offline and I placed them into this TR8S, and it's amazing. And I got all the functionality and the sound texture of the drum machine. It's just amazing. To actually go out and buy it would, for me, be too many drum machines. And now here's the thing: if that's what you like, if you enjoy playing with the machine as well as getting something from the sound, then that's fine. I don't want to tell anybody that if you collect these things or if you enjoy these things, not to do that, because that wouldn't be fair of me to do that. But I would say that if you're a lot like me, where choices overwhelm you, choices overwhelm me, I can spend hours, if not frigging days, thinking about the different choices I can make in just wiring up my MIDI, for goodness sake. I mean, it's just mind boggling. When I'm presented with too many choices, I don't want to limit myself. I want to try this. I want to try that. I want to try that. I want to try this. And I find myself overwhelmed when I have too many choices on synthesizers. So what I try to do is I try to limit myself on the synthesizers. Yeah, it really looks like that when you see my collection. I try to limit myself, though, based on sound palette. Now, I think one of the hardest things I ever had to do was get rid of the OB, or well, the OB6. That was difficult to get rid of that, and the Prophet 6. But let's talk about the Prophet 6 because I talked about this before. I got the As1 by Pioneer, and I did that because it's essentially one voice of the Prophet 6. The Prophet 6, I loved that synthesizer. I really did. And to let it go really stung, all right? But I did it because I was not using it polyphonically. I wasn't using it polyphonically. I was using it in the mono. And I know that you can, stack the voices in unison and you're going to get a thicker sound. But I wasn't really needing all that power. So here was a $2,000+ box sitting on my gear rack, and I wasn't utilizing it. It was too many synthesizers. It was creating a problem. I had to bite the bullet and let it go. But I thought, for about 1/4 of the price, I can replace it with the As1. And I'm so glad I did. If you haven't seen that video where I do a demo on the sound, you should check it out. I go through some of the presets. It's a pretty amazing machine, just like the P6. But I thought it was too much in my gearbox or my gear rack. That one little box costing over $2,000 to be sitting there. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is the OB6. I think that is a very unique sounding synthesizer. So why did I let it go? Because I don't have much that can even compete with that sound palette wise. And to be fair, I don't have anything that could really. I mean, it's a unique machine. However, I'm waiting on the Behringer UBXA, and I'm very excited about it. I have a funny feeling it's going to sound really great and it's going to be far less expensive to have one. So I'm writing my chips on that. And I'm going to tell you something, the OB6 will be around for quite a while on the secondhand market. And when the UBXA comes out, I think a lot of people will be unloading OB6s at a much lower price than what I was able to obtain mine for. So let's talk about that aspect really quick. Um, you have too many synthesizers when you need to get rid of them when the price is right to do it. Now, I've been telling this, what I'm about to say here, quite a bit in my videos now for a while, but I really want to spell it out for you. When Behringer hits the market with all of these new synthesizers, and I think they're going to be surprising a lot of people with something they're not even talking about, sort of like what they did with the Crave. I think they're going to come out with something that's really going to take the market by storm, but they're not going to really make a big deal about it until boom, it hits. But when they do saturate the market with all of these clones, you're going to see a lot of other people doing the same thing, like you are with SynthCube bringing out the ARP 2600. They're taking a page out of Behringer's playbook when it comes to cloning. Now, hear me on this. When the market gets flooded with these inexpensive synthesizers, the people who own these higher price synthesizers and these classic vintage synthesizers that have been cloned, they're going to want to get rid of this older gear. Most of them are. Enough of them are. And the prices, I think, will go down unless by some chance the clones don't perform. Now, you know, there's always people that want to attack the clones. They're not good enough. They're not identical enough. Guys, the clones are legendary not because only, not only because they sound fantastic. I'm talking about certain synthesizers, but because a lot of people didn't have a whole lot of choices back in the day, and they utilized these machines, these vintage machines, to their fullest extent. In other words, they didn't have a whole lot of choices back then. And because they didn't have a whole lot of choices, they had to push their gear to the max. And I'm going to give you a point as to what I'm saying. When Eddie Van Halen played the legendary synthesizer, okay, the OBXA, on the Jump album, it is said, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I read it in many places, so it's got to be true, right? I read that he ran it through a Fender amplifier. And what's really funny is that if that's true, and it probably is true, I don't know why anybody would ever lie about that, but just hear me out on this. If that is true, then you're never going to get a clone that's going to sound exactly like the OBXA did on that album unless you run it through the amp exactly the way he did it. And what I'm getting at is that a lot of these synthesizers from yesteryear are famous because the artist utilized them in such a way that it pushed the technology to the max, and they did it in unique creative ways to get a unique sound so they wouldn't sound like other people performing the same music on the same gear. They wanted to create their own sound. And why not run a synthesizer through a Fender amp if you are a hard rock band, right? I think that Eddie Van Halen could be considered a metal band to some extent. I know they play a lot of soft songs, but they are a hard rock band. So why not play their synth through an amplifier? And that would give it a different tonality, a different sound. So where I'm going with this is that a lot of people are relying on these clones to sound exactly like the originals, whereas the originals were never meant to sound exactly like themselves by the artist who made them famous. So I kind of hope that I got that point across. With that being said, you have to look around in your palette of sound and ask yourself, how much overlap do you have? How many synthesizers are packed away not being used? Is there a synthesizer that when you look at it, you just kind of cringe in the thought of using it because it doesn't fit your workflow maybe? I've had a couple like that. and I had to let them go. So to me, that was having too many synthesizers in that department. So you have to look around and find what's working for you, what's not working for you, what are you using, what are you happy with, and would slimming down your synthesizers help you? Now, a famous artist, and I don't like to really say names on here, but I was watching this video where this famous artist said that they take three, maybe four maximum synthesizers from their collection every time they sit down to write a track. And that's what they limit themselves to. Most of the time, it's three synths in a drum machine. And they have like maybe 20, 25 synthesizers or more. And they limit themselves to about three synths and then a drum machine. And they do that on purpose because they said they get overwhelmed with the choices and they have to make choices. Now, see, sometimes I get overwhelmed with just trying to pick three or two or one. I don't know. I look at all the stuff and I go, which one? Which one? And that's why it's good to be able to have a mixer like I have over here that has 32 inputs. The Series 3 from Personas, this is Studio Live Series 3, it's a 32, and it actually has 32 physical inputs. So all of my gear will run through here, and I can hear all of it, record all of it, and I like having that because I can run and sequence all of my gear all at once without having to rehook everything back up. I hate doing that. It just doesn't get done. And that's another thing I was going to say. If you have so many synthesizers that you just don't even want to hook them up, you might have too many. But I just wanted to talk about this today and see what you guys thought about it. It's always interesting to know. And I want to thank you guys for supporting my channel. You know, I watch a lot of YouTubers, and I'm just going to say this, so I hope you don't take this wrong, but there's a lot of fake people out there. I hope you guys know this. They get paid to talk to you about gear. They don't really criticize gear because they don't want to lose a sponsor. They don't sit around make tracks that often, and when they do, some of these YouTubers that do this, their tracks sound horrendous, and they're telling you about gear. Now, I'm not saying that I'm perfect, and that's the whole point that I'm making out here. Is I appreciate you guys realizing that I'm sharing something with you on a personal level, and I enjoy coming here and talking with you. I really mean that, okay? Because I don't need to do this channel. I want to do this channel, and it's fun to see the interaction with all of you, especially when you're on Facebook. I got a little Facebook group over there called Synth Drones. It's growing, and I'm hoping to grow it more, and I'm going to be expanding from there. So I hope you guys will follow me in this adventure. And that's what this is about. This isn't about generating a ton of money. This isn't about getting endorsements or having people send me gear. Everything you see in my studio, I paid for it myself, and nobody pays me to say these things to you. I do have some sponsor links on the page to keep things rolling around here, but it's not about that. It's not. It really isn't. I wouldn't tell you guys a lie to convince you to buy something or to support something just because it made me some money. I would never do that to you guys, and I hope you believe that. And the reason why I'm saying this at the end of this video is because I watch a lot of people that are just fake, and I cannot stand fake. I hate fake. I hate it when people are nice to me and they don't like me. I hate it when people don't like me and they're nice to me. Didn't I just say that in reverse? I hate it when they're mean to me and they really like me too. That's what I meant to say. I guess what I'm saying is I hate fake. I do. And I don't want to be fake to you guys. I want you to know you're talking to a real guy. I sit here every single day in my studio. I pump out tracks as much as I can. Not everything gets released. And I'm my biggest critic. I really am. And I don't pretend to know everything because I don't. And I love the fact that I can come here and talk with you, and you guys can share your opinions through the comments and on Facebook. I just love that. And I'm glad that you guys, some of you have chosen to support me on patreon.com. I think that's the way it should be. If I'm taking money from these synthesizer companies to tell you to love them, that's sad, because you are smart enough to make up your own mind. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there that believe everything they see on TV, on YouTube. They think, well, this guy knows what he's talking about, so I should buy this, and that's not cool, and that's not cool. So that leads me to my last point. You have too many synthesizers if you bought it because somebody told you that you should buy it. That's my last point. If somebody told you to buy a synthesizer that you didn't need because they were getting paid to tell you that, and you believed them and did it, you have too many. You have too many synthesizers. Well, I'm losing my voice, but thanks for listening and watching. And please leave a comment, chime in. I love all of you guys, I really do. And until next time, keep calm and synth on.